Hello, welcome to the lab. This is Troj. Now today, we're going to take a step back in time a little bit. Both Miner and myself have got busy in real life, so we're going to take a little break for this week. So we're going all the way back in time to episode 1, when we were actually on the Interrealms podcast as a once-a-month little feature episode, before we branched out into our own thing. So we're going to go back to episode 1, and you're going to hear where it all began. And we're talking about what makes a Minecraft build epic. We will see you back here next week for brand new content here on The Lab, a Minecraft podcast.
Well, I have had something on my mind for quite a while.
You have indeed.
And it was briefly, I think Green did a video about what makes a mega base. Mm-hmm. What qualifies as a mega base, and he went through the different hermits bases and kind of gave his thoughts about whether it was mega or not.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that, I'm more of a technical Minecrafter.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my farms. And some farms are epic, and that's what I want to get into. My question is to you and to the audience, what qualifies as an epic build? In my mind, an epic farm, resource farm, would be something that's high output. You get a lot of drops. But I also thought, let me just explain the reason why I'm asking this question is Mythical Sausage put out a video, and he built an epic creeper farm. So he starts building it, and I'm like, this is a basic creeper farm. I mean, this is one we've seen time and time again. It's nothing that's done any different than, what we've seen before. However, he put a really nice, I guess I'm just going to call it medieval style building around it, and made it look really cool, really beautiful. So does that qualify as epic? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I guess when you're talking epic, well, let's sort of backtrack a little bit, I guess, from my take on it. So obviously Green put that video out, and really the first time. Now, obviously, I haven't played Minecraft for an extensive period of years, as everyone that watches my channel knows. But the first time I'd heard the term mega was with Green, with, the size of the bases, I think, in Season 6 of Hermitcraft. And then it grew on from there to Gigabase and all these sort of things with Season 8. So I think when you're talking mega, giga, whatever, I think you're talking just pure size. That's it.
Right. When
you're talking epic level, I think you're on it's a totally different topic. It's a different question. And for me, Minecraft is a game. The reason I fell in love with Minecraft was because you can play it so many different ways. You might wake up one day and say, I want to build something. And so you just go and you build it. Or you wake up and you go, I want to play on a server with my friends. So you go and do that. And you just muck around and you slap each other with goats or whatever you want to do. There's so, or you might want to wake up one day and say, I want to build a contraption that can open a 6x10 piston door, or whatever. There's so many ways to play Minecraft, and because there's so many ways to play Minecraft, I think the term epic can be used in any of those sense. And I think you sort of nailed it on the head. If you want it, you're more a technical player. I'm more a building style player. So the builds, the style of, when you do a farm and you get all excited as you do when you say, oh, I've improved this farm efficiency, and I've improved the impulse SV item sorter, and all that sort of stuff. To me, that's epic, because that's awesome. That's great. And it's stuff I can't do. On the flip side of it, when I go and build a big build, or it's highly detailed, or it's effective in the landscape that it's put in, that could be considered epic. And so when I watch videos, I love watching Impulse SV as an example, right?
Oh, yes.
He's one of my favorite content creators. I can sit and watch his live streams all day. And I have done that when I've been sick in the past, and just put him on YouTube, and away you go. The base that he did for season 8, the Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, that to me, that's an epic build, just for the sheer complexity of it and the sheer audacity to do something on that scale and the way it looked. And by the same token, mythical sausage house that he put around that creeper farm, which I watched last night, because I knew we'd be talking about it today, it's nowhere near as big as the Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, but it looks epic. It looks great. So to me, that's epic as well. So I don't think when it comes to epic, I don't think size matters, to be honest. I just think I think what it more comes down to is the fact of, what was your purpose of doing that particular thing? And is it epic? Like, did it work? Did it increase efficiency? Is it a smaller build, but is it highly detailed? Does it look great? That's my take on what is epic. And I guess it's very subjective too.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use, is subjective. And I get inspiration from a lot of different people, and I kind of branch outside of my comfort zone and do things that are more decorative or builder style type things. But at the same time, I want to do things in a different way. I think for me, epic is taking something that you've seen time and time again, and that might be a whole different subject, is just doing things in a new way. But epic would be taking something that you've seen done 100 times and doing it different. To me, that might be epic.
100%.
The iron farm that I'd like to build in my single player world or server, it's a logical Geek Boy design where the golems spawn in the nether and they get transported through portals into the overworld. And then, you could just basically drop them into a fire pit and kill them off that way, or lava blade or whatever. But I want to do something different. As they come through the portal into the overworld, I'd like to have them coming out of the mouth of a statue.
Yeah, right.
And then the water slowly, there's some water that flows out of the statue, and then they find their way, or they flow down toward a killing area. And my girlfriend reimagined, she came up with the idea of killing them with skeletons. Now I'd have to protect them somehow, but have them in like a killing area where they shoot at the golem. As long as the golem is lower than them, then they will shoot at it. And we tested this in a creative world and everything, and I'm hoping I can pull it off, because it sounds cool in my head, but it sounds epic. But I'm hoping I can pull the whole thing off.
Well, to me, that's epic. Like, doing it different. And, and the other side, and you and I have had conversations as well about different farms being, in my opinion, over-engineered, so, like, to use a phrase. So, to me as well, it could be epic. Something could be epic if it's simplified as well. So, as an example, speaking of Logical Geek Boy, I just built his no drain, no portal Guardian farm, which took a couple of hours to do and is simple. Now, is it the most efficient? Is it the most effective? No, because obviously you need portals for that, obviously. But, in 2 hours of AFK, I got enough stuff to sustain the server, our shop on the CMS server.
Oh, nice.
So to me, that was like, this is so simple. And, because you and I had a lot of talks in private about, Guardian farms, obviously, because that's something we're going to be looking at for the Interrealms SMP. And you and I had many discussions about efficiencies and all those sort of things. And I went the simple route for Siemens because I didn't need a huge one for that. And his design, I had an idea in mind, and when I saw his video, it was like, well, that's 90% of what I was thinking in my head. So I'll just do this. And to me, it's epic because it was simple, it was effective, and it supplies everything I need. So again, we're talking subjective, and I think that very much proves it's subjective. Is yes, if you did a farm like a golem farm outside of a golem farm with increased efficiency, or one that's just a simple square in a box like I've got on my Troj channel tutorial. You know, one's epic because it's so simple and easy to do and you don't need anything. The other's so epic because, you know, you've got increased efficiencies, and then you're taking it to another epic level by adding your design coming out of the mouth and then being killed by skeletons, which is another style of epic. So I think the answer to the whole thing is epic is defined by however someone looks at it.
I'm following a creator called Ian Exo4. He explains that, or he labels them as elegant. And he even put the definition in there, a solution to a problem pleasingly ingenious and simple. And I've built 3 farms, a guardian farm, a raid farm, and a gold farm. And they are so simple to build. But as far as the efficiency, it's on the epic level. For as simple as they are, I mean, they're almost farms that you could make early game.
Well, a Guardian farm is definitely one that needs a sorting system because it's a mess on the auto storage, not auto storage, like the catchment unit for all the drops on the CMS one of Logical Geek Boys. The thing's a mess. And what I've come to learn is you need a disposal system for COD because, oh my goodness, I'm trying to give the stuff away and no one will take it, and there's just oodles of it.
Right, and you can't trade it fast enough with your villagers because they lock up, you know, after a couple, even half a stack or whatever. So
yeah, like let's talk builds for a sec here. You know, you can see the biggest build, you know, like Scar's stuff that he does, you know, anyone that looks at it goes, wow, that's epic. You know, that what Good Time with Scar does. Or B-Dubs, B-double-O. But by the same token, you know, you look at some of the smaller content creators out there as well, because obviously we fall into that category of small content creator. But some of the stuff that you see on things out there from the smaller people, smaller content creators, some of those builds, they're not to the same scale, but they're highly detailed. They look amazing. To me, that's epic. You know, they might use a building technique that no one's either not used much or not seen before, or they take a concept and completely run with it and do something completely different. Or I was watching, and unfortunately the name eludes me at the moment, but there's someone doing a finishing Aqua Down from Hermitcraft Season 7. They're finishing it.
Oh, okay.
And the builds, I don't think, they're not to Scar level, but the effect that it has, it looks epic. Like the result of it, like as that city, that area, that town starts to complete, it looks epic as well. So yeah, I think it's just there's varying degrees of epic, and it also comes down to the sort of player that you are, whether you're a technical mind, you're a building mind. You know, what about PvPers? You know, that's a whole different category as well. You know, everyone, you know, when the MLG technique was becoming popular, everyone's like, oh, how epic is that? Now every man and his dog can do it with, you know, very easily. You don't need to practice it. It just you can do it. It's easy. Right. But you know, it's that was epic. You know, and I guess as new updates come out and new snapshots come out, people are going to look at the new stuff and go, whoa, that's epic. And 12 months later, you're going to go, oh, that's just normal. So I guess, too, the term epic not only does apply to a certain way we're looking at things now, but the way we look at something epic is going to be different in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's always going to, that definition of epic is going to be I think, continually fluid as Minecraft continues to develop over time. Like everyone thought the 1.16 Nether update, the Nether is epic. Now it's like, oh, we've got to go to the Nether.
Another person that I follow heavily, and he's one of my favorites, I would have to say, for being a well-rounded Minecrafter that's been in it for, since the beginning, is Etho. He does epic builds, even though they're not, they're like huge or sprawling or mega or whatever. He even said in his videos he likes to come back and make whatever he's done look good. He'll take and that's kind of my mindset now is if I build a farm, and Zuma does the same thing. If I build a farm, I'd like to come back and make it look good. There's a part of me that wants to branch out into making everything that I do look good.
Yeah, and to me that's that's epic as well, for lack of a better term. I one thing that annoyed me with my season 2 of Interrealms builds was I was building stuff for the sake of building stuff. So for those that don't know, I was building a Wild West town, and to finish this town, so the town had stuff in it, and it was a decent size. I was building builds just for the sake of having a build there to fill in a spot. But when I look back at, and that annoyed me because it was like, well, it's got no function. It's got no reason to exist other than to exist. So, but then when I look back at Seasons 1's base, which was Dragon's Rest, which I won't go into because everyone listening is probably that has watched and heard me in stream and that have probably sick of hearing about it. But each of the buildings there had a purpose, and there was a farm included in each one, and it had a purpose. And that's the way I like to build, and I like to build my bases. I don't like having a structure that isn't serving some sort of purpose. To me, that's a waste of space. So I'm very much on that wavelength as well of build a farm and then build a nice shell around it. And then the whole area looks good. Like, I'll use the Dragon's Rest one as an example. When you fly across that area, you wouldn't know there's farms in there, apart from the ice farm, but you wouldn't know that there's farms in there. But, there's a discs farm, there's a gunpowder farm, there's a kelp farm, there's a pumpkin farm, there's a melon farm. There's all sorts of stuff in there. But you would never know because it's got nice shells around it. And to me, that's epic because, as you said, it's not just a simple farm built in an industrial area or whatever, and you can see all the components, and as nice as that can look at times. The way Mumbo does it, I think, his industrial areas is epic. I like the way he does that. The way he does it is very clean, crisp. I'm very much one of those people that like to build things around your area and around the farms to make them look good. So I understand where you're coming from and moving into that, wanting to move into that sphere.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said before, it's really subjective. From my perspective, looking at your Season 1 builds, Dragon's Rest, a lot of that was functional and looked really good. That, to me, was epic. Your Season 2, yeah, I mean, you're building a Wild West town, ghost town. Sometimes ghost towns are Wild West towns are nothing but just the facade of the building. They looked really, really good. I still consider those epic. But someone might ask, well, were they functional? I mean, there were a couple. There was the bank, the bar. I can't remember what else.
Yeah, the general shop had they all, basically the entire main street had a purpose. Everything there had a function, but it was when I got out of that main street, it was like, and then we were coming towards the end of the season, it was like, well, the season's not big, like the area's not big enough. And like the only thing I would not classify as not required was the church at the end, or the schoolhouse, as people like to call it, but it is a church. And that was always designed to be there, because if you watch a cowboy movie or whatever, the end of that street is 9 times out of 10 there's a church up the end, so it had to be there. Right. And you know, the interior of that one was done, but the rest of them at the back of that base had no function. And you can actually physically see in the Wildwood build, which is the name of the town, that I lost interest, because the builds get smaller, and they were just put there for the sake of being there. And because they were going to have no function, to me, that part of the build is not epic. Like that main street, I'm so happy with that main street. That came up better than I could have hoped. The main street's epic. The back end of that, not so much. And you're exactly right. People can, you know, if they get the world download of that season, they go and have a look at it. They may say this area is not epic. And I would agree with them, 100%. But then other people might come on there that maybe have just started Minecraft, or have never done a Wild West build. They might get the world download and walk through that area and go, wow, this is so epic. You know, again, it's subjective.
And season 2 of Interrealms, where I really felt like it branched out, was in the creative side, helping reimagine with her Spanish villa builds.
And by creative side, you don't mean building and creative, you mean the creativity of designing and decorating.
No, both. I mean, that's the first time we created the mission, the church. That's the first time her and I created something in creative together.
Off server.
Right.
Yeah.
Off server. And then I took a schematic of my own build. This mission was, and even the lighthouse, the first time that I went into creative and said, okay, I'm going to do this 100% myself. I'm not going to use someone else's schematic. And that, to me, was satisfying. And it wasn't, they weren't huge builds, but I mean, is that considered epic also?
Well, I was about to say that. Like, to me, like that lighthouse and that mission area, it complemented the Wild West town really, really well. But that was epic. It was epic because it was so well thought out. It looked good. It didn't have to be, like, it's not the biggest build in the world, and it's definitely not the biggest build on that island, but it's one of the epic builds on that island. I'll give you the tip. Because the way it looks and the way it looked, and that's epic. And the fact that you made a conscious decision to move out of your comfort zone into that sort of Minecraft, that alone is epic, because you've made that decision to try something new and try something different.
So thank you for joining us here on Minecraft Lab, and we had fun. Talked about what is epic and frog poop, of all things. So this has been me, Minor Thoughts, and the Troj, your co-hosts, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.